The Pledge of Allegiance will now be led by Chief of Staff Tax, followed by a moment of silence and reflection.
If willing and able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. You may be seated.
The clerk will now call the roll. Please correct the pronunciation of your name if it is incorrect.
Baber. Barnes. Barr. Bean. Bracy. Brash. Byer. Calder. Cost. Creed. Durham. Felix. Calavati. Goldstein. Gruner. Haber. Hamilton. Harvey. Hensley. Hurd. Howe. John. Kay. Kwame. LaPinta. Lapsley. Lynn. Malachi. Miller. Montalto. Morgan. Peterson. Rangavajula. Ravi. Sane. Sellers. Spittler. Tanner. Vaught. Wall. Wenzel. Whitehead.
With a quorum being present, is there a motion to approve the Journal of February 28th, 2024 as found online? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We are now in line for general orders of the Senate, beginning with reports from Senate leadership. Speaker Pro Tempore Baber, you are recognized to give a report on the Rules Committee.
Hey, the Rules Committee met on Sunday at 5:30 p.m. like we usually do. We sponsored 4 pieces of legislation and we repassed another one. So you guys are going to see those today. I don't think this is on. I just had to hold it closer. I yield my time to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Academics Committee. Chairwoman Creed, you are recognized.
Okay, hi guys. So academics met for our last meeting Monday at 6 in the LSC. We voted on 3 pieces of legislation. SBL 11569 and 71 we found unanimously favorable. SBL 11574 we found favorable with a vote of 4-2. We just spoke about some things that the next academics committee could work on, and that was about it. Thank you all for a great term, and with that, I yield to questions.
The Chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We'll now hear a report from the Finance Committee. Chairwoman Durham, you are recognized.
All right, hi everyone. This past committee meeting, we voted against 3 requests, approved SBL 11579 and against SBL 11573. With that, I yield my time to questions.
The Chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We'll now hear a report from the Health and Safety Committee. Chairwoman Ravi, you are recognized.
Hi guys. So we had our last meeting the Friday right before spring break. We basically voted on two pieces of legislation, which we both found unanimously favorable, SBL 11569 and SBL 11574. I also had my senators draft up action plans for the next term so that they can kind of get a grasp on what they want to do. I will be providing contact information for all of the people that they had on their action plan to kind of give them a head start for the next term, even though I myself will not be here. Yeah, and just like Chairwoman Creed said, thank you guys all so much for a fantastic term. A special thank you to all of the health and safety senators. You guys are such wonderful people, and after I see my psych patients on Friday, seeing your faces make my life so much better, and I'm being completely real. And with that, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Inclusion and Equity Committee. Vice Chairman Gruner, you are recognized.
Hey guys, really quickly, DEI did meet earlier today at 4:30. We've been working on our women's tabling event that we're going to try doing hopefully on the 25th. More details to come regarding that and that's process. We also continue to work on the action plan for the committee next term, talking about maybe doing more events for Hip Hop Wednesday as well as more cultural food events to kind of bring that in for the fall semester. And that's about it. And I yield my time to questions.
The Vice Chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Vice Chairman?
Thank you.
Seeing none, thank you so much. We'll now hear a report from the Judiciary Committee. Chairwoman Hamilton, you are recognized.
Hi, everybody. I hope you had a great week. Judiciary met on the Friday before spring break. We reviewed one bill. It was SBL 11571, introduced by Chairman Hensley, and it had to do about the duties of the Deputy Secretary of Sustainability, and we did find that unanimously favorable, and we're looking forward to seeing that today. Thank you, everyone, for a great term. Obviously, I had a good time because I'll be back here in 2 weeks. So with that, I yield my time to questions.
The Chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Powers and Responsibilities Committee. Chairman Harvey, you are recognized.
Hey everyone, Powers met yesterday at 6:30 in the LSC. It was a brief meeting as we had no pieces of legislation to vote on. We spoke quickly about if anyone had any future plans for Senate or any interest in powers and responsibilities, and I yield my time to questions.
The Chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chairman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We'll now hear a report from the Student Life Committee. Chairwoman Malachi, you are recognized.
Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. Student Life met Monday at 6 o'clock. We found two pieces, 11575 and 77, both unanimously favorable, but we found 11576 unanimously unfavorable. Other than that, we basically just talked, discussing wrapping up our term, and then helping my future senators if they wanted to go for chairmanship. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The Chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We'll now hear a report from the Sustainability Committee. Chairman Hensley, you are recognized.
Hey y'all. Sustainability met on Monday. Obviously, as Chairwoman Hamilton said, we have that piece of legislation hitting second reading today about the Sustainability Deputy Secretary. And mostly we just talked about goals for the next term, came together with a little bit of an action plan of what the next Sustainability Committee can do. And with that, I yield to questions.
The Chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chairman? Seeing none, thank you. We'll now hear a report from the Freshman Council. Are there any representatives from the Freshman Council present? Seeing none. We will now hear a report from the Constitutional Council. Chief Justice Buchmeier, you are recognized.
There it is. Alas, we're here again. So, keeping with the theme for most of this session, I have nothing to really report at this time. There was great discussion in the CC group chat this week that was largely as to which justices were going to be able to attend inauguration. So far, we're tracking at least 3 for part of it, so this is great news. I think it's going to be a record compared to previous years. Thank you to your esteemed former colleague and now esteemed Associate Justice Bryant. Past that, although I generally don't have much to report, largely because I don't have much to comment on at any given point, and I don't really view that as the court's place, I would like to thank all of y'all for your efforts this semester. I view the role of the CCs very much as a support institution to help it make it easier for the work that all of y'all do. And so to be able to see all of the great work y'all do, it's really reaffirming to our role as part of this broader organization. With that, it goes out to all the senators in this body, but particularly this year's executives. It's been great serving with y'all. I don't know if I've had a scene, again, nothing particular with that y'all have done, but just the effort and energy that y'all have put forth in every moment that y'all have been here. I don't know if I've seen it before, and it's been an honor to be with y'all this year. And with that, I'll yield to questions.
The Chief Justice yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chief Justice? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
We will now hear a report from the Speaker of the Student Senate, Cameron Eubanks. Chief of Staff Courtney Tax, you are recognized.
Hi, everyone. So I really don't have anything to report. So this is coming from me and the entire Speaker's office. I wanted to thank you guys all for your hard work this past term. I'm so incredibly proud of all the legislation that you've written and the initiatives that have happened that have helped so many students, and not only students, but people in the greater Columbia community. Your hard work and passion has really showed, and you've helped a lot of people, so you should be very proud of yourselves for that. Next, I wanted to thank my staff for all of your hard work this year, from spending your Sundays with me to bagging thousands of Chiclet Minis. You guys are amazing, so thank you guys for your hard work. Okay, I promise I'm not going to cry, guys. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Lastly, I wanted to thank Speaker Eubanks. I'm sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. I feel so bad. You have been the epitome of a servant leader. You have given your heart and soul to this position, and that passion has shown and inspired so many, including myself. Being your chief of staff has been one of the most rewarding experiences and such an honor. As your chief of staff and friend, I'm so thankful and incredibly proud of you. Anyways, I can't wait to work with you guys in the coming year. Like Maura, I'll also still be here. So let me know if you need anything. With that, I yield my time to questions.
And point of information, my staff and my chief of staff have been the best that I could have hoped for. And I also will be thanking them shortly, so I will also try not to cry. And with that, the Chief of Staff yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Chief of Staff? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Student Body Treasurer, Treasurer Augsbuck Lama. You are recognized.
Hi everyone, as per usual, not much of a report from my office this week, but I am happy to announce that we used almost all the initiative fund this year, so congrats on that to everyone who helped create an initiative. Other than that, we were able to find a little bit more money to grant to student orgs this week, so that will be good in the coming of the next Senate session. But other than that, I yield to questions.
The Student Body Treasurer yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Student Body Treasurer? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now hear a report from the Student Body Vice President. Vice President Reeves, you are recognized.
Hey, hello everyone. What we have coming up is really just, we're recording actually inside 1801. It'll be my last episode, but it'll be kind of fun transitioning it over to Miss Courtney Tax. So we're gonna do an episode, recording that this Friday, so it'll come out next week. That'll be a nice, like, sweet way to end the term. But we will also have like an annual report for y'all. If you saw the booklet that we did last year, we'll have that, but online. So sustainable, free, it's great. So that'll come out next week, probably before inauguration, highlighting all of y'all's accomplishments as well as across student government as a whole. But overall, just want to thank y'all for a great term, for doing all you can do, and kind of, it was really cool to see all of your passions come through in your legislation and the different initiatives that you push through. But with that, I yield to questions.
The Student Body Vice President yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Vice President? Seeing none, thank you so much. We are now in line for a report from the student body president. President Thompson, you are recognized.
Happy last student session, everybody. To start off, me and Patton met with Bryce Bible, who's the new CIO this Monday, and we were really excited to hear what he has planned. I feel sure that he is going to prioritize student needs with Wi-Fi, and so that was super exciting to hear. Keep in mind, we'll be having a St. Patrick's Day Uber discount for students this weekend, March 15th through 17th, and Student Affairs will be emailing that information out this Friday. Please be sure to fill out the Carolina Core Reform survey that was sent in the group me. That report will be turned into the provost's office before next Wednesday, so I'd really love y'all's feedback there. It's super important to have all the different colleges represented. Reminder that tomorrow is the Cockies, which is the new name for SG Awards. That'll be at 6 p.m. in the campus room at Capstone. It's mandatory, so I'll leave that up to Cameron as to how y'all can proceed if you need to be excused. We also ordered a new student government tent, which will be super exciting for programming next year, and a speaker and cooler are in the process as well. We've been delivering donuts throughout this week and throughout the rest of the week to campus organizations with flyers to encourage people to apply for student government next year, so y'all can keep up the good work. Reminder that if you ordered a t-shirt, those pass outs will be from tomorrow, again from 5 to 5:45 p.m., and wristbands for senior band as well. Last Board of Trustees meeting for me on Monday, and just a brief campus activity fee update. We will be getting one-time institutional funds next year to accommodate for the student organization growth. So that means we will be hitting the $348,000 that y'all's committee requested. So we won't be seeing the $13 increase next year, but that's because they're working with the state right now to not lose tuition mitigation money. And once that is resolved, we should hopefully see an increase in the next year. But good news for next year, we will be hitting that target number. So kudos to y'all there. That's pretty much all for me. Like Courtney, I'm not going to try to get too emotional, but I really just did want to thank y'all. This has been an absolutely wonderful year, and so much is the relationship between Senate and the executive branch. All of you guys have impressed me in different ways. You've written tangible legislation that has actually affected the student body, and I can truly say in my 4 years here, this has been the most effective student Senate I've seen. So just wanted to congratulate y'all and thank y'all for making this the best job in the world. And then last thank you obviously goes to Cameron. He's one of my best friends, but he is also one of the most kind-hearted student leaders I've ever met. You're the reason that my mom doesn't worry when I leave the office at 3 a.m. because you're here to make sure I get to my car safe. You're the reason I wake up and I feel blessed every day to be inspired and want to do the work. And so gonna miss you, and I hope that you will still be my friend after I'm president. But just thank you to you, thank you to your staff. I look up to you guys in so many ways, and that goes for y'all as well. So just thank y'all for a great year. And I yield to questions, sorry.
The student body president yields to questions. Are there any questions for the president? Seeing none, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much.
We are now in line for special orders of the Senate, beginning with, are there any letters, petitions, appointments, applications, or other the clerk will now read? Hearing none, we are now in line for a motion period. Are there any motions on the floor? Senator Kaye. Yes, you are recognized. There's been a motion to introduce SBL 11585 to the first reading calendar today. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is added to the very end of the first reading calendar. Is there any other motions on the floor? Seeing no more motions, is there a motion to dispense with the motion period? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. We are now on the call of the introduction of new legislation. The clerk will now read.
SBL 11580, introduced by the Rules Committee, a resolution to recognize the contributions and accomplishments of Student Body Treasurer Hannah Osbach Lama to student government, the University of South Carolina, and the USC Student Body.
Speaker Pro Tempore Baber, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Thank you, Cameron, or Speaker Eubanks. Yeah, so the Rules Committee worked on SBL 11580, 81, 82, and 83 to recognize all of our executive staff for all of the hard work that they've put in throughout the 2023 to 2024 school year. SBL 11580 is a resolution to recognize the contributions and accomplishments of the student body treasurer, Hannah Augsbach-Lama. And we want to thank you for this work that you've put in all this year. As the first student body treasurer that we've had for the last 3 years. Close. You've really worked hard on the internal budget and just overall everything. You've really improved a lot, so we thank you so much for that. SBL 11581, a resolution to recognize the contributions and accomplishments of the Speaker of the Student Senate, Cameron Eubanks. Speaker Eubanks, we really can't thank you enough. I just echo everything that Courtney and that Student Body President Thompson said. You've really been everything that we could ask for a speaker, and we thank you a lot. Wow, it is hard not to cry when you're up here. I don't know what it is. Okay, SBL 11582, a resolution to recognize the contributions and accomplishments of Student Body Vice President Abriana Reeves to student government. We thank you so much for everything that you've put in as the Student Body Vice President. Just with the Carolina Beautiful Week, Safety Week, Stigma Free Week, all the events that you've put on, you've hosted a lot, and we really thank you. SBL 11583, recognizing the contributions and accomplishments of Student Body President Emmy Thompson. We thank you so much for the work that you've put in this year as well. And echoing the same thing that I said for everyone else as well, I just appreciate you so much, and from the Rules Committee as well. We couldn't have done this year without the four of you guys. Yeah, so motion to add these, or to pass these, what am I, motion
Well, point of information, we'll go through each one and motion to pass by acclamation. Yeah, so if there's, do you yield to questions, Speaker Pro Tempore?
I do yield.
Yes, the Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Chairman Ravi, or excuse me, Chairwoman Ravi. Totally, go ahead. Thank you so much. Chairman Hensley. Hmm?
I'm not opposed to that being an omnibus.
So is there a motion to omnibus SBL 11580, 81? There's been an objection to the motion to omnibus SBL 11580 through 83. That means we will go through each one individually. So starting with SBL 11580, is there any more questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore on this piece of legislation? Seeing none, thank you so much. Is there a motion to pass SBL 11580, introduced by the Rules Committee, a resolution to recognize the contributions and accomplishments of Student Body Treasurer Hannah Augsbach-Lama to student government, the University of South Carolina, and the USC Student Body? Is there a motion to pass that by acclamation? Objection. There's been an objection to pass by acclamation. Is there any other motions on the floor?
Motion to table the bill indefinitely.
There's been a motion to table SBL 11580 indefinitely. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The bill is tabled indefinitely. Is there any other motions on the floor? We haven't gotten to that piece of legislation yet, but when we get to it, noted. Is there any other motions regarding SBL 11580? Is there a motion to retrieve from the table SBL 11580? Is there a second? All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The bill is retrieved and placed on the second reading contested calendar. The clerk will now read, continuing on.
SBL 11581, introduced by the Rules Committee, a resolution to recognize the contributions and accomplishments of Speaker of the Student Senate Cameron Eubanks to student government, the University of South Carolina, and the USC student body.
Speaker Pro Tem Baber, you are once again recognized to speak on the legislation. If you have anything else.
I don't have much else to add. Everything else is in the piece of legislation, so I yield my time to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Seeing none, is there a motion to pass by acclamation? Is there a second? There's been an objection to pass by acclamation. Is there any other motions on the floor for this bill? Senator Hamilton. There's been a motion to table SBL 11581 indefinitely. Is there a second? What, Senator Hensley. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The bill is tabled indefinitely. Is there any other motions on the floor? Chairman Hensley. There's been a motion to retrieve SBL 11581 from the table. Is there a second? All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is retrieved from the table and placed in the second reading contested calendar. The clerk will now continue.
SBL 11582, introduced by the Rules Committee, a resolution to recognize the contributions and accomplishments of Student Body Vice President Aubriana Reeves to student government, the University of South Carolina, and the USC student body.
Speaker Pro Tempore Baber, you're once again recognized to speak on the legislation.
The legislation speaks for itself. It's a good read. So I yield my time to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Seeing none, is there a motion to pass by acclamation? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. SBL 11582 is adopted. Continuing on the calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11583, introduced by the Rules Committee, a resolution to recognize the contributions and accomplishments of Student Body President Emmy Thompson to student government, the University of South Carolina, and the USC student body.
Speaker Pro Tempore Baber, you're once again recognized to speak on the legislation.
This legislation also speaks for itself. It's also a really good read, and I recommend that you guys read about everything that these execs have done this year, because we couldn't even include everything. It would have been too long of a piece. So I yield my time to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Seeing none, is there a motion to pass by acclamation? Is there a second? All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. And point of information just for the clerk to take note, SBL 11580 and SBL 11581 have been retrieved from the table and will be read on the second reading contested calendar at the end. Continuing on the call, the introduction of new legislation, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11585, introduced by Senator Kaye, a bill to establish expectations for executive presence and training.
Senator Kaye, you're recognized to speak on the legislation.
Afternoon. Sorry to bring business into the last day, but it was just something that I got requested to kind of work on, and so I thought it was pretty important to do so. I know this is a little bit timey, but my hope is that this I can explain what it does effectively. It ensures that there is language regarding student government executive officers and ensuring that they actually know that they're supposed to go to summer training, as that language is a little bit, y'all have probably seen the codes. Things can be hidden. But the plan is to make that well aware, and also to ensure that if they cannot necessarily ensure their duties physically, they at least do so in some form, because some people will be going to home on the summer and they don't have accommodations here, and we want to ensure that even if they're not here, they are able and willing to do to fulfill their obligations and do their duties. This will be, for those that aren't aware, this will get sent to the next session, so 116 Senate to finalize and work on. So this isn't getting adopted today. I'm not pushing it through. I'm going to let peace be peace. I will yield to questions.
Senator Kaye yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. The legislation is referred to the very next Judiciary Committee. Continuing on the call, the introduction of new legislation, the clerk will now read. Hearing none, we are now on the call of the uncontested calendar. The clerk will now read.
SBL 11569, introduced by Senators Gruner and John, a recommendation to add detailed information about the immunization penalty to the Self-Service Carolina and Gamecock Gateway checklist.
Senator Gruner and John, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Good evening, Senate. Hope you're all having a great day. So basically, this legislation is about adding more detailed information to websites like Self-Service Carolina and Gamecock Gateway, because as Senator Gruner mentioned, over 800 students last year got an immunization hold, which prevented them from registering or dropping classes. Because as of now, if you go to a website such as Gamecock Gateway, there is, in the new student checklist, there is no mention in regards to immunization holds. So basically, we think for the future that many students will be able to prevent any disruption, academic disruption to registering or dropping classes. We also spoke with Dr. Maria, who is the Associate Vice President of Center of Health and Wellbeing, and how to implement this and how we can update the websites so students can have a more clear information regarding to immunization holds. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The senators yield to questions. Are there any questions for the senators? Seeing none, thank you so much. We will now move to a vote on the legislation. You guys are good to sit down whenever. Since this was on the uncontested calendar, this shall be a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call, the uncontested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11570, introduced by Senator Sellers and Bean, a recommendation to offer scholarships specifically designed for transfer students in order to attract more transfer students to the University of South Carolina.
Senators Sellers and Bean, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Hey y'all, so this is a recommendation to get the University of South Carolina to implement a scholarship specifically designed to attract and retain transfer students, because we want to be competitive in getting transfer students at our university, because that makes us a more prosperous university, it makes us a more diverse university. They come from all kinds of different backgrounds, so we really want to have some sort of way to encourage them to come to our university and choose us, because in fact we're actually the only SEC school that does not offer some type of transfer student scholarship. So this is a recommendation to get that conversation started. It doesn't deal with any of the specifics like how much would be on that, how much would be offered, anything like that. It's just something to get that conversation started. And would you like to add anything?
Hi. We've worked closely with the Transfer Student Association, TSAC, sorry, and they are already in the process of making this happen, so this shows support with the students. So they're going to the state senators and hoping that this happens, because right now we're at 0 for giving help out. We need to do more.
We yield our time to questions.
The senators yield to questions. Are there any questions for the senators? Seeing none, thank you guys so much.
you.
We'll now move to a vote on the legislation. Since this was on the uncontested calendar, this shall be a voice vote. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call, the uncontested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11571, introduced by Chairman Hensley, a bill to specify the duties of Deputy Secretary of Sustainability.
Chairman Hensley, you're recognized to speak on the legislation.
Again, I'll be brief. This is just to specify better how the student government is to go about green certifying, our events, like the legislation that was passed last semester recommends. So this just assigns that duty to the Deputy Secretary of Sustainability. And with that, I yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you so much. We shall now move to a vote on the legislation. Since this was on the uncontested calendar, this shall be a voice vote. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call, the uncontested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11572, introduced by Senators Byer and Wall, a recommendation to improve University 101 course curriculum.
Senators Byer and Wall, you are recognized to speak on the legislation.
Hi everyone. So unfortunately, Senator Wall could not be here tonight, but this legislation is pretty much the same as it was last week. Just pretty much improving University 101 curriculum to make it a better experience for freshmen. However, we did add a brief little amendment just to clear up any vague language that was sort of used at the end of our legislation. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The senators yield to questions. Are there any questions for the senators? Is there a motion to add Amendment 1 to SBL 11572? Is there a second? Does the sponsor of this amendment, or does the sponsor of the legislation find it friendly or unfriendly?
I find this friendly.
The sponsor does find it friendly. The legislation is hereby adopted, the amendment is hereby adopted into the legislation. Any other questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. We shall now move to a vote on the legislation. Since this was on the uncontested calendar, this shall be a voice vote. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call, the uncontested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11574, introduced by Senator Rangel-Rajula, a recommendation to promote vegetarian and vegan options in Aramark catering packages.
Senator Rangel-Rajula, you're recognized to speak on the legislation.
Good evening, everyone. I have a lot of legislation here, and I understand someone has nominated me for most likely to produce the longest legislation. So I think it's fitting to end the term in the same spirit that Senate has always operated, with a little bit of superfluousness and pedanticness. But I think I'll defy tradition and be a little bit brief today. As the bill states, really focused on improving the amount of vegetarian and vegan options. There are meal packages that Aramark offers that doesn't have any of these options, and most that do not have any vegan or vegetarian protein substitute, leading for an incomplete meal. I think it'd be a disservice for a catering service not to have, a complete meal for the students that it swears to serve. So for that reason, I wanted to put this through. Working with the sustainability director of Aramark to kind of work on this unofficially as I finish up the term, and hopefully hand it off to the next term to kind of see through. Also working with the Walker Institute to integrate different more environmentally conscious food items within the catering of packages as well. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for improvement and making things a lot better in terms of food offerings. So with that, yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Senator Kay.
Sorry, could you repeat that? For this one, I would not be opposed. This one obviously will require more work, so I definitely would like the next term to carry it on. Yeah.
Any other questions before we get to that? All right, Senator Kay. Can you repeat those numbers for me?
Could I actually object? How does this work?
Yeah, Chairwoman Hamilton. Senator Kay, did you mention 74? No, you. Okay. Chairwoman Hamilton, go ahead. Is there any objections by the sponsor of the legislation?
Yes. I definitely agree that this project is in the works, but the other legislation that I put up are legislation that are projects that are, in progress of being completed. So I'm open to this one for sure.
There's been an objection to the motion to omnibus the following bills, so we will look at them separately. So is there any other questions on SBL 11574? A recommendation to promote vegetarian and vegan options in Airmont catering packages. Seeing no further questions, thank you so much. We will now move to a vote on the legislation. Since this was on the uncontested calendar, this shall be a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call of the uncontested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11575, introduced by Senator Rangabajula, a recommendation to create concentration tracks within the biochemistry and molecular biology major.
Senator, you're once again recognized to speak on the legislation.
So I've been a biochemistry major for 4 years, and I've kind of regretted it every single day. And I think a lot of my peers can attest to the same, a large part of it being that when we were promised bio and chemistry, we received a whole lot of chemistry, not much bio. So I think there's definitely an imbalance for a major that the university touts as the best pre-medical major. So for that reason, I think it'd be beneficial to create certain concentration tracks geared towards whatever the student's interest might be, whether that be chemistry or biology. Such as in the case of the neuroscience major, which has 3 concentration tracks for whatever the interest of the student might be. So I think this could definitely help benefit students that take the course or take the major and improve retention rates. I've talked to the professors and they're interested in it. I had the chance to talk to the professor who actually initiated the biochemistry major, and he said that it's definitely within it was within his interest when he made the major to have it be more evenly balanced. And I think for that reason, there's good potential that this may be taken up to happen. So with that, I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, we shall now move to a vote on the legislation. Since this was on the uncontested calendar, this shall be a voice vote. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11576, introduced by Senator Rangabajula, a recommendation to partner with Greek life organizations to collect reusable decor and themed clothing for the Gamecock Community Shop.
Senator, you're once again recognized to speak on the legislation.
Yep. Same as we mentioned 2 weeks ago. This initiative initially started by President Thompson, and we kind of worked together with sustainability to kind of see it through. And we were able to push through, I guess, the obstacles that came through these past 2 semesters to kind of work with the community shop to open up their spaces to take in these types of decor and themed items. I mean, as you guys well know, there's a lot of events that happen month to month, year to year, that definitely can produce a lot of waste, especially if you don't want to reuse a theme. So in this case, it really helps us be more sustainable and other organizations that want to reuse these items be more economical so that they don't have to buy completely new things. So I think it's a win-win situation, and we should be beginning to introduce these types of bins within the Greek Village in partnership with specific organizations moving forward into the next semester. So with that, I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, we shall now move to a vote on the legislation. Since this was on the uncontested calendar, this shall be a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11578, introduced by Senator Rangabajula, a recommendation to establish an annual Cancer Prevention Week on campus.
Senator, you're once again recognized to speak on the legislation.
Yeah, I don't know if I have to sell you guys on the importance of cancer prevention. I think we ubiquitously understand that importance, and as the rates show, cancer is definitely rising in younger populations, as well as rates of health literacy simultaneously dropping. So with that in mind, I think it's important to have this event. We've been working really hard to make it happen. We partner with the health center, with a lot of different organizations on campus to fund and to promote this event. We have a lot of student organizations on board with it as well, so really excited to see it happen. It's going to be the first week of April. I'd really like to see this continue. I think health is something that we shouldn't opt to participate in. It should be the culture of our community, and I don't think an education here at South Carolina would be complete without learning to understand your own health. So with that, I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. We shall now move to a vote on the legislation. Since this was on the uncontested calendar, this shall be a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call, the uncontested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11579, introduced by Senator Kay, a recommendation to increase the campus activity fee.
Senator Kay, you're recognized to speak on the legislation.
Y'all know what this is about. I've done this so many times. I don't even need my computer up here. I'm just really excited about this project kind of getting finalized. Huge shout out to President Thompson for working on that. Really excited to see that. Shout out to the many people who helped that program, including Senator Vaught sitting there in the back, hiding away. Yeah, I know. Sorry. Treasurer-elect Vaught. Gotta get that right. But yeah, I'll yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. We shall move to a vote on the legislation. Since this was on the uncontested calendar, this shall be a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The legislation is adopted. Continuing on the call, the clerk will now read. Hearing none, that completes the call of the uncontested legislation. We shall now move to the contested calendar. The clerk will now read.
SBL 11573, introduced by Senator Rangabajula, a recommendation to produce and facilitate access to purchasing recommendations during student organization finance requests.
Senator Rangabajula, you're recognized to speak on the legislation.
Everyone back again. As the recommendation suggests, we believe it would be helpful to have a curated guideline of sorts to help student organizations to find the most economic and environmentally sustainable purchasing options for most commonly requested items. This would help streamline the process and make sure that things are not having an exorbitant economic or environmental impacts during requests. And we feel that would be beneficial to have this provided some point during the finance request process so that they may integrate this within their planning and eventually their request. With that, yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. Seeing no more questions, we shall now enter a period of debate on the bill. Is there any senator who wished to speak on the passage of SBL 11573? Chairman Hensley, you're recognized, sir.
I first want to thank Senator Ramagula for working hard on this bill and all the other ones that are on the floor today. I just have two concerns about this piece of legislation. First is that I am afraid that it might hurt the efforts of the green certification team in the long run. If at a trader's workshop, the organizations are being told about these green options that they probably won't end up using in practice, they are going to be less likely to fill out the information form to actually go through a green certification consultation with the green certification team. And I'm also just concerned about information overload that may deter organizations from going through the green certification process. I yield to questions.
The chairman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairman? Seeing none, thank you so much. Is there any other senator wishing to speak on the passage of the bill? Senator Ron Gavajula, you're recognized, sir.
I think that what Chairman Hensley said is fair concern. Definitely don't want to overload that finance request process. It's already difficult and complicated as it is. So with that in mind, I do think that a potential attempt to create such a list might be useful and beneficial, at least for green certification purposes on the other side. But I do concede that maybe providing that or needing to provide that during the finance request process may be a bit too much. With that, yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Senator LaPenta.
Yeah, I think that was my intention with the initiative. Yep.
Any other questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. Is there any other senator wishing to speak on the bill? Senator Galavati. Granted. Okay. Senator Galavati. Granted. Any other senator wishing to speak on the passage of the bill? Senator Morgan. There's been a motion to move to the previous question, which was on the passage of SBL 11573. This shall be a roll call vote since this was on the contested calendar. A vote in the favorable aye is the vote for the passage of the bill. A vote in the negative nay is to vote to deny passage of the bill. The clerk will now call the roll. If you are proxying for someone, please say proxy aye, or proxy nay, or proxy abstain. Point of information, an abstention is only for matters of a personal conflict with a piece of legislation. Clerk will call the roll.
Baber. Barnes. Barr. Bean. Bracy. Brash. Byer. Calder. Cost. Creed. Durham. Felix. Galavati. Goldstein. Gruner. Haber. Hamilton. Harvey. Hensley. Hurd. Howe. John. Kay. Kwame. LaPinta. Lapsley. Lynn. Malachi. Miller. Montalto. Morgan. Peterson. Rangavajula. Ravi. Sane. Sellers. Spittler. Tanner. Vaught. Wall. Wenzel. Whitehead.
Have all senators answered the call? The polls are now closed. The clerk will now tabulate. Is there a motion to take a 2-minute recess to talk about the results? Without objection, so ordered. The Senate will now come back to order. By a vote of 26 nays to 10 ayes and 1 abstention, the legislation does fail. Continuing on the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11577, introduced by Senator Rangapajula, a recommendation to maintain an online repository of promotional material from student organizations.
Senator Rangavajula, you're recognized to speak on the legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was hoping to be the last legislation to discuss, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like it will be. As far as this piece of legislation, as previously discussed, it's something that I've been working with I previously worked with the LSC on to kind of create an online repository to store up-to-date and current promotional material from student organizations such that it can be highlighted on GarnetGate and other university platforms for students interested in learning about organizations on campus and the events that they have to offer in the near future. We were able to create a prototype, and that should be up on GarnetGate for students to see, and hopefully that can lead to other cool things in the future that we've been discussing, like social media highlights and everything like that. I think it's a great way to reduce the amount of flyers they need put up and really get organizations out there and highlight the cool stuff that we have going on campus. So with that, I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Senator Kaye. Granted. Senator Kaye. Granted. Senator Whitehead. Granted. Granted. Chairwoman Durham. Granted. Granted. Chairwoman Malachi. Are you good, Hannah? Oh.
So yes, to your point, this is sorry, could you repeat your question? Sorry. Yeah, absolutely. Initially, this was designed to be a companion for the organization fairs, especially the one that happened this past spring. So it's essentially kind of a guidebook of the organizations that were at the fair and the flyers that they're handing out, so that they wouldn't necessarily have to print out flyers, but more so have something virtual that they could refer to and students could see, even if they couldn't hit every table. It kind of expanded beyond that to be something that anyone could give their flyers out to. GarnetGate wasn't the initial plan to have it up there on. It was we were hoping to have it on different platforms as well. So to your point, yes, it is similar to what's already on GarnetGate, but I think the advantage is that it can be applied to other platforms as well. Like I mentioned, potential social media highlights as well, if that answers the question.
Senator Felix.
Yeah, I mean, the way you're saying it makes my legislation sound a little inane. But no. Oh, no. I see your point. I definitely see your point. I think, like I mentioned, the initial idea was to have this really go along with organization fairs and be specific to that. And I agree that the legislation may not have focused on that point. the LSC we're happy to put it up on Garnet Gate, so that's the only reason I included it as part of the legislation. As to how it's different, I think it's just it's more of a collection that once you go into it, you can see organizations that you may not have thought to exist or even look at potentially. So in the case of Instagram, if you post a flyer, you kind of have to be following them to know about it. Whereas if you look through this online repository, you kind of have all of the flyers at your fingertips. So you might discover something that you didn't know existed beforehand.
Any other questions for the Senator? Chairman Hensley.
Of putting together the Yeah, I mean, as far as what happened in this initial pilot, it really was just a Microsoft form that was sent out to the heads of organizations who were interested in submitting to the repository, and we just went through and improved them. I'm hoping that that can potentially be streamlined and integrated, so that, I mean, obviously I'm not going to be here, so that's not something I can be doing every year. So it's kind of just an open-ended legislation. I mean, for future terms to interpret and integrate as they see best fit.
Any other questions for the Senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. We shall now enter a period of debate on this bill. Is there any senator wishing to speak on the legislation? Chairwoman Malachi, you are recognized.
Hi everyone. So Student Life had this legislation actually sent within our committee. The major concerns that we have, other than the questions that were already given, were just like the feasibility of it, only because we already do have Garnet Gate and it has such a similar like stance on it. We were concerned rather than that we would just actually highlight more Garnet Gate, kind of getting people to use it more, especially because that was previous legislation that was passed this term. Just finding different ways that we can actually use websites that we have. We don't want us to become kind of like muddy with creating more websites that kind of repeat what we already have, only because so many students aren't already using what we have in the concerns. But other than that, I yield my time to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. Is there any other senator wishing to speak on the passage of the bill? Chairwoman Hamilton. We're moving to the previous question, and that question was a vote on the legislation. Since this was on the contested calendar, this shall be a roll call vote. A vote in the favorable aye is a vote for the passage of the bill. A vote in the negative nay is a vote to deny passage of the bill. The clerk will now call the roll. And remember, if you are proxying for someone, to say proxy aye, proxy nay, or proxy abstention. And technically, you're only allowed to abstain if you have a personal conflict with the piece of legislation. The clerk will now call the roll.
Baber? Barnes? Barnes? Barr? Bean? Bracy? Brash? Byer? Calder? Cost? Creed? Durham? Felix? Galavati? Goldstein? Bruner? Haber? Hamilton? Harvey? Hensley? Hurd? Howe? John? Kay? Kwame? LaPinta? Lapsley, Lynn, Malachi, Miller, Montalto, Morgan, Peterson, Rangavajula, Ravi, Zane, Sellers, Spittler, Tanner, Vaught, Wall, Wenzel, Whitehead.
Have all senators answered the call? Point of inquiry, who is proxying for Senator Whitehead? Who is proxying for Senator Kwame? Aye. Seeing that all senators have answered the call, the polls are now closed. The clerk will tabulate. By a vote of 19 nays to 16 ayes and 1 abstention, the legislation does fail. Continuing on the call of the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11580, introduced by the Rules Committee, a resolution to recognize the contributions and accomplishments of Student Body Treasurer Hannah Asbagh-Lama to student government, the University of South Carolina, and the USC student body.
Chairwoman Baber, or excuse me, Speaker Pro Tempore Baber, you're recognized to speak on the legislation.
I recognize everything that I said earlier, and I echo it again because the legislation speaks for itself, so I yield to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Seeing none, thank you so much. We shall now enter a period of debate. Are there any senators wishing to speak on the passage of SBL 11580? Senator Morgan, you are recognized, sir.
Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? Do I need a mic? Are we good? We good? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To quote Martin Luther, I cannot and will not recant anything, since it is neither safe nor right to go against conscience. Here I stand, I can do no otherwise. It stings me to see this resolution on the docket. The reason why that is because money talks. And I want to preface everything I'm about to say with the fact that I do not disrespect the treasurer as a person. I do not. Each and every interaction I've had with her has been cordial and respectable. However, the resolution before us does not speak to the treasurer as an individual, but to what she has done, or rather, what she has failed to do during this term. And so that will be the subject of what I'm about to say. Starting off, the Rules Committee and the Speaker Pro Tempore are smart people, very smart people, some of the best in the Senate. But the content in this resolution they authored is not. Plain and simple. By definition, a treasurer is someone who is, quote, appointed to administer or manage the financial assets and liabilities of a society, company, local authority, or other body. We have seen just the exact opposite this past term. As a matter of
Chairwoman
fact,
Hamilton.
the maintenance of the student government
Chairwoman Hamilton.
was much
Chairwoman Hamilton.
point taken.
The Senate does recognize that the Speaker did violate the rules of civility under the point of order. I ask that you yield the floor, sir.
I will not yield. Thank God we get a reset in.
Chairwoman Hamilton. So I ask you again, sir, yield the floor.
As you wish.
Thank you. Is there any other senator wishing to speak on the passage of this bill? Excuse me, resolution. Chairwoman Hamilton, or excuse me, yes, Chairwoman Hamilton. There's been a motion to the previous question, which shall be a vote on the legislation. Since this was on the contested calendar, this shall be a roll call vote. A vote in the favorable aye is the vote for the passage of the resolution. A vote in the negative nay is a vote to deny the passage of the resolution. The clerk will now call the roll. If you're proxying for an individual, you say proxy aye, proxy nay, or proxy abstain. You're only allowed to abstain, technically, when it's a personal conflict of interest with a piece of legislation. The clerk will now call the roll.
Baber, Barnes, Barr, Bean, Bracy, Brash, Byer, Calder, Cost, Creed, Durham, Felix, Galavati, Goldstein, Gruner, Haber, Hamilton, Harvey, Hensley, Hurd, Howe, John, Kay, Kwame, LaPinta, Lapsley, Lynn, Malachi, Miller, Montalto, Morgan, Peterson, Rangavajula, Ravi, Sane, Sellers, Spittler, Tanner, Vaught, Wall, Wenzel, Whitehead.
Have all senators answered the call? Seeing that all senators have answered the call, the polls are now closed. The clerk will tabulate. By a vote of 33 ayes to 3 nays, the legislation does pass, and we do thank the student body treasurer for her work this year. Continuing on with the contested calendar, the clerk will now read.
SBL 11581, introduced by the Rules Committee, a resolution to recognize the contributions and accomplishments of Speaker of the Student Senate, Cameron Eubanks, to student government, the University of South Carolina, and the USC student body.
Speaker Pro Tempore Baber, you're recognized to speak on the legislation.
Hi, this resolution will be recognizing Speaker Eubanks for his hard work. This is a great piece of legislation. I recommend that everybody reads it. I yield my time to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Seeing none, thank you so much. We are now moving into a period of debate on the bill. Is there any senator wishing to speak on the passage of SBL 11581? Senator Morgan, you're recognized, sir.
Well, folks, I'm back. And folks, seriously, shame on you.
Hey, I will not have civility being thrown out the window in this room.
I just started. She refused.
Chairwoman Hamilton.
I apologize for that, and I genuinely do, given what you did the past time.
Senator Morgan, please use the microphone. Thank you.
As you wish, Mr. Speaker. I'm back, and it's not easy being up here. And believe me, I don't want to be up here. I really don't. But many senators express the sentiment I'm about to unload here, and I'm just the only one with enough courage say what's on their minds. Now, keep in mind, I'm not talking, the Senate is. To start with, the issue I have with this legislation at hand is that there have been instances where the Speaker has treated many senators childishly, like they wouldn't know any better than him.
Chairwoman Hamilton.
First sight that they would.
Senator Morgan, if you cannot control yourself within these chambers, then you may leave. Thank you, sir. Any other senators wishing to speak on the bill? Chairwoman Hamilton, you're recognized, ma'am.
Can everyone hear me? I just wanted to stand up, and I was going to save this for my inauguration speech because there's a lot of it coming. But I wanted to thank Speaker Cameron Eubanks for the fantastic job that he has done over this past year. I feel as though he's fostered an incredible environment. I don't want to cry. I came in here as a write-in senator, and I had no idea what I was walking into. And he made this one of the most enjoyable experiences that I've had thus far in my college experience. And he is the #1 reason why I chose to run for Speaker of the 116th Senate. And all I can say, and I'll keep it short because I talk a lot more about it in next week, but I just truly hope that I can be just half of the leader that you are. And I just thank you tremendously. And with that, I yield my time to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. Is there any other senator wishing to speak on the passage of the bill? Chairwoman Baber, you're recognized, ma'am.
I'll make it super quick. I just wanted to commend the act of bravery that it takes to stand up here every Wednesday and to act with so much civility and conduct this room in the manner that Speaker Eubanks has done this entire year. So thank you for that. I yield to questions.
The Speaker Pro Tempore yields to questions. Are there any questions for the Speaker Pro Tempore? Seeing none, thank you so much. Any other senator wishing to speak on the passage of the bill? Senator LaPenta.
I just wanted to get up here and personally say my experience in the Senate would not have been half of the experience without Speaker Eubanks. He has been an incredible leader, an incredible example for all of us, and as a freshman coming into this environment, it is incredibly intimidating. It's incredibly intimidating to sit in a room with everybody staring at you and say, crap, I don't know if I'm good enough. Like, I don't know if I'm good enough to get into this. He made me feel like I was good enough. That's all I have to say. I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. Chairwoman Ravi.
I said it once today, and I'm going to say it again while I'm up here. I quite literally might have quit student government if it were not for Speaker Eubanks. I'll be completely honest because I'm up here, and I don't have a problem being honest. I did not have a good experience in the 114th, and that was due to somebody that was in your shoes before you filled this post. You have made me feel not only comfortable being in the 115th Senate, but you've given me the tools that I need to succeed as a chairwoman, something that I don't believe I would have gotten in the 114th. So I am incredibly thankful that you are our speaker this term. And I understand not everybody has the most perfect experience in Senate, but I can attest by saying that Speaker Eubanks has done a fantastic job on the most part, and I cannot think of why he should not be accepting this resolution tonight. I yield to the well.
Is there any other senators wishing to speak on the passage of the bills? Chairwoman Creed.
As Senator LaPenta said, I also did not feel like I was qualified to be in a chair position, but I'm honored to have it, and I don't think that without the support of Cameron and all of his staff that anything would have gone smoothly this term. I admire Speaker Eubanks for all of the hard work that he does that is not seen, because I really don't think that all of you guys realize that. You think you have a lot of meetings, imagine all that he does, on top of being a student, on top of having a life outside of student government. Like, I think that it's important to keep in mind all of the work that you guys don't see. So I yield to the well as well.
Is there any other senator wishing to speak? Senator Gruner.
For those of you who do not know, I am a freshman, and I had a lot of things that I wanted to do and I wanted to get involved in. And so when I stumbled into the student government one day, I was lost, I was confused, and Cameron brought me into his office and he told me about all the different options that there were. And if it were not for him, I would not have been able to do the things that I did. And I am incredibly thankful for him. He is a strong and an incredible person. And our Senate would not have been as successful and as synergistic as it was without him. I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. Any other senator wishing to speak? Senator Lapsley.
Thank you. Thank you. First and foremost, I would like to say that I stand in support of this resolution, simply because it is very difficult to get a multitude of people to consistently show up to events, and then you have to keep your composure and push through because you made a promise to students. So I understand that there is maybe emotional conflicts. However, I don't know anybody who was more qualified to be a speaker than Cameron Eubanks. Being a fellow poli-sci major, I see the difficult sides. When I served with him on the Finance Ad Hoc Committee, I saw he bridged the gap between students and faculty and made it a smooth and easy transition for the next group to come in. So I can understand if you have your opinion, but as far as the position goes, there is nobody I have met on this campus who is more consistent than Cameron Eubanks. And I yield to questions. So if you want to question me on it, we can question me on it.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. Is there any other senator wishing to speak on the passage of the bill? Chairman Hensley, you're recognized. There's been a motion to the previous question, which is a passage of the piece of legislation. Since this was on the contested calendar, this shall be a roll call vote. A vote in the favorable aye is a vote for the passage of the bill. A vote in the negative nay is a vote to deny passage of the bill. If you're proxying for someone, it is proxy aye, proxy nay, or proxy abstain. And technically, an abstention is only be able to be used when you have a personal conflict of interest with the piece of legislation. The clerk will now call the roll.
Baber? Barnes? Barr? Bean? Bracy? Brash? Byer? Calder? Cost? Creed? Durham? Felix? Galavati? Goldstein? Gruner? Haber? Hamilton? Harvey? Hensley? Hurd? Howe? John? Kay? Kwame? LaPinta? Lapsley? Lynn? Malachi? Miller? Montalto? Morgan? Peterson? Rangavajula? Ravi? Sane? Sellers? Spittler? Tanner? Vaught? Wall? Wenzel? Whitehead?
Have all senators answered the call? Seeing that all senators have answered the call, the polls are now closed. The clerk will now tabulate. By a vote of 33 ayes to 3 nays, the legislation does hereby pass. Continuing on this. Oh. Just used to it. Continuing on the second reading calendar, the clerk will now read. Hearing none, we are now in line for a period of open discussion. Does any senator wish to bring a matter of attention to the body? Chairwoman Ravi, you're recognized, ma'am.
Wow, I think this is probably going to be my last time up here at the Well. For those of you that don't know, I am a senior that graduates in 2 months. And I promised that I wasn't going to cry. I might. I don't know. I'm on Prozac, so it does make it a little hard. But the emotions are definitely there. I've told this story to a lot of you. I am going to give you the PG version of it, but I ran for Senate on a spur-of-the-moment decision when I was not exactly clear-headed. I don't think that's the right word, but you get my point. I wanted to be involved in student government when I was in high school, but I was too scared to do that because I didn't have a background of wanting to go into law. I wasn't popular, so I decided to just leave it alone. But I finally got the guts to do it in college, and again, this was not on my checklist of things to do. My checklist of things to do in college were research, get into medical school, all that fancy stuff. But by far, this unexpected experience has been one of the most rewarding experiences that I have ever done in my entire 4 years here at Carolina. And there's something that I want you guys to all consider. When we consider our idea or metric of success, we think if we check off X, Y, and Z boxes on the list that we've achieved something and that we've succeeded. But I want you guys to consider all of the things that you may not have planned for, like joining an organization like student government and accomplishing something like becoming a chair, or trying something completely new that you didn't expect that you would do in your 4 years here. Those are your true successes, and I want you guys to realize that. And I just wanted to, while I'm up here, thank everybody in the Senate. But there are also 3 very special people that I do want to shout out. Academics Chair Creed, Chief Advisor Emily Jipp, and I know you're watching, former Finance Chairman Patrick Kuhn. He's watching from Italy. These 3 people were my friends, very good friends in the 114th, and even better friends in the 115th. And they are quite literally, for me, every minute of the day. You can ask them how many panic texts that they've gotten from me, how many mental breakdowns of mine they've had to endure, how much of my bullying they've had to endure. Sorry, Patrick. But these people are truly not just my friends. At this point, they are like family to me too. And I love them so much, and a lot of my Senate success is due to them. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I didn't really have time to write a speech because I have like 3 tests tomorrow. But yeah, it's my last time up at the Well. I'm just taking it all in. And to all of you guys that are going to come back, have fun, be nice, and no goal is too big. With that, I yield to questions.
The chairwoman yields to questions. Are there any questions for the chairwoman? Seeing none, thank you so much. Does any other senator wish to bring a matter of attention to the body? Senator Ron Galvajula, you're recognized, sir.
Hello, everyone. It's just another old head reminiscing about my time in Senate. Truth be told, I told a lot of people that I was unsure about running for the 115th. In reality, I just forgot to submit my nomination. But in that moment, I was really faced with the decision, do I run again or not? And I'm glad I did. I'm surrounded by a lot of people, and I've been able to work with a lot of people within the Senate. And I think this is my first term out of 4 where I've been able to work with all 4 exec in some capacity. So that's been, I think, amazing that they're able to break those barriers between the different sects of student government and really make time to engage students. So I think what we're doing here is really good. And while I feel a little bit that I ended on a low note with two failed legislation. I think it's great that we have students within the Senate that are able to raise their voice on what they think may not be beneficial for students and go through with what they believe. I think that's really what makes us who we are. At the end of the day, we might only be fake student government or fake government, but I think the work that we do is very real, and the impact that we can have for our constituents can last beyond our term just as student senators. So that's what I have to say on that, and I hope all of you guys who are here will continue to carry forward that torch and help the student body. Another matter, more of like an announcements thing, but I don't want to come up here again. I've been here like 7 times today. But Cancer Prevention Week, that is happening April 1st week, leading up to Relay for Life. We got tons of events planned. We'd love to see you come out to one of them and learn a lot more about your health and how you can protect it. And in general, just have a good time. So with that, I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. Is there any other senator wishing to bring a matter of attention to the body? Senator Morgan, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can you all hear me? I hope you can. I rise today for the last time as a member of the 115th Student Senate, and this really is a bittersweet moment. And now, before I get into my remarks, I do want to say, those who spoke during the contested legislation reading calendar, you're entitled to your opinion, just as I'm entitled to mine. We're still friends. But before this Senate session and the term draw to a close, there are several people I'd like to go out of my way to thank, and I'm going to be up here for a minute, so y'all are going to have to bear with me. But first and foremost, the most relevant group of people is the people of Darla Moore. To have served as your senator has been the honor of a lifetime, and I'm elated and overjoyed that they have entrusted me with another term as one of their senators. I've never stopped, and I will not stop, ever, advocating for the rights and needs of the second largest college at USC. And I'm excited to get back to work in this new term. The next group are my parents. To my mom and dad, and I'm sure they're not watching. As a matter of fact, I know they're not. But in the minuscule chance that they are, I'd like to thank them for their encouragement, their belief in me, and most importantly, for their unwavering support throughout my journey that I've been in the Senate. For rejoicing with me in my triumphs and offering their counsel in my nadirs, I wouldn't be as nearly as effective as a senator if it was not for them. And for that, Mr. Speaker, I am and will forever be grateful. For those who are here, there are several people that I would be remiss if I didn't give them a shout out and express my gratitude for serving alongside them. And while many people make that list, I will start with Senator Ravi. I've been glad to have served nearly 2 terms alongside the gentle aide from the College of, the Arnold School of Public Health, as it were. The drive and grit Senator Ravi has shown speaks for itself. Her dedication to the health and well-being of all students on this campus is clearly seen in her unwavering commitment to the various initiatives as she is successfully spearheaded. Let me say that again. Successfully spearheaded. Anybody can make an initiative and go willy-nilly and get lackluster results. But to flawlessly execute and achieve your desired result time and time again, there is something to be said for that. And that's what she's done. I can't think of someone better than her to have led the Health and Safety Committee for this term. And let me be the first to tell y'all, this is someone you want to work with. This is somebody you want on your side, as somebody who has worked and collaborated with her on legislation before. Unfortunately, that legislation did not see the light of day due to certain prerogatives of those who are higher up in the Senate. Sad but true. Sad but true. But nevertheless,
Senator Lapsley. Granted. Senator Lapsley. Granted.
Reclaiming my time.
Continue on.
Reclaiming my time. Her mindset made it so easy to get down to business and to get things done. Of course, like I said, if you want someone to get something done and to get it done effectively, look to none other than Senator Shrestha Ravi. Outside of legislative affairs and initiatives, Senator Ravi is probably, honestly, one of the funniest and most personable senators that you're going to meet. And I say that honestly, I really do. Her sense of humor, her ability to insert comedic relief into situations, and honestly, not to take herself too seriously. These were all things I enjoyed while serving in the Senate with her. Suresh, as I continue my tenure here in the Student Senate over this next term, you will be missed. And if not by anybody else, then by me. That's got to come from something, right? Yeah, there you go. Thank you for serving your college in this capacity. And I know that whatever the next steps are for you, you will succeed in it. And I'm not just saying that. It is my hope that one day I'll wake up, read my newspaper, and see that you've been appointed the director of the World Health Organization. On behalf of my delegation, I wish you nothing but the best as you start this new chapter in your life, and I can't wait to see what you will accomplish. To the retiring Senator Creed, I'd also like to thank you for your leadership in the form of chairing the Academics Committee this term. I've sponsored or co-sponsored several pieces of legislation this term, but what I consider the crowning achievement of it all is the fact that we were able to ensure that the library remained open 24 hours in the lead up to exams, which I know the exec loves to talk about, but come on, the Senate had an equally, and in my opinion, more important role in ensuring that happened. But I wasn't able to accomplish that legislative victory alone. And I attribute Senator Creed to being the reason why that bill got turned into reality. And much like Senator Ravi, the work ethic Senator Creed has shown is impeccable. The Senate will be losing a very senior voice in you, and it will become less robust because of it. Still, I hope that this post-senatorial period in your life is filled with peace and prosperity. This speech wouldn't be complete without me giving a shout out to the senator who probably knows me the best, as he is my roommate, that being my friend, Chandler Calder. Chandler is, without a doubt, probably one of the most politically savvy and competent senators that this Senate has seen in recent memory, folks, I'm telling you. But there's something I want to point out here, and this speaks to his character. He ran as a junior, meaning that he served this term, his only term, as a senior. He knew full well he didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to get a record to run on for re-election. He could have easily just sat back, relaxed, and been a bump on a log. Still, with the way he legislated and advocated, one would have thought he was indeed eligible and running for re-election. When you look at everything he has accomplished, pushing for improved BLAT hours, working tirelessly around the clock with clubs on their behalf with university administration, and legislating in the area of Gamecock athletics and the fan experience, which I guarantee you no other senator in recent memory has done as much as him, it is clear that he has maximized what little time he has had as a senator to best serve not only those who elected him, but also the university as a whole. And I can speak to that as, like I said, I live with him. So I see the work that goes on behind the scenes, folks. I see what he does in his time when he's not in the chamber, and he is always working on constituent work and legislation. Chandler, it's not only been nice to see you accomplish nearly everything you've set out to do, but it's also been wonderful to have a fellow senator like you who takes his position as seriously as you do, and to be able to call you more than a colleague. Know how much your friendship means to me, and how much of a joy it has been for me to render myself in service alongside you in the Student Senate of the University of South Carolina. Lastly, there is no one more of a political dynamo than the distinguished gentleman from the College of Arts and Sciences, who I might add is not here tonight, that being Ian Hurd. Mr. Hurd is not just another senator to me. No. He is someone I am proud to call not just a friend, but one of my closest friends. As a matter of fact, he is in part responsible for the reason why I stand here today. Let me tell you a story. So it was August of my freshman year, and at the time I was living in Capstone, which is across the street from the C.S. Lewis Center. Some of y'all might know it. It's the house that has all the cats, the White House. You know, I'm sure you've heard of the cats at the bare minimum. And so I've started going to the center, going to some of the events, and I had met Ian, prior to this, going to the center events. And there was one day that he showed up a bit late, and so I asked him where he was. And he said, I was doing things related to student government. And when I asked him, well, what's your position? And he said, well, I'm a senator. And of course that was news to me, because prior to coming into college, I had looked at student government, I had looked at the Student Senate, and it had said that freshmen were essentially barred from becoming senators. And so he quickly dispelled that myth. He told me about the application process, yada, yada, yada. The rest is history, as you can see. But Mr. Speaker, I mentioned that Ian is someone who is close to me. And he is one of the few members of this body that I have spent a huge amount of time with outside of this chamber. And he's someone with whom I have more commonalities other than serving the people of this university in the capacity as a senator. And that is key to a strong friendship, let me tell you. I will say, even though he's retiring, I am going to miss seeing him in this capacity, though. But the journey that we've been on together, and of course, I'm saying all this when he's not here, but nevertheless, the journey we have been on together has been a wild ride, serving together since October of 2022, and I'm glad that I had this experience of serving the best university in the state of South Carolina alongside him. I'd like to thank him for what he's done for his college, for this university, and for being not just someone I can bounce senatorial ideas off of, but also that person that I can call at 11:30 p.m. and go get food with. That person that I can call and ask to use his washing machine when my dryer and washer broke. That person that I look forward to spending my free time with. Ian, as you go out of the Senate, you have amassed a record of service that is admirable, and you honestly serve as an inspiration to me and embody what I strive to obtain in my role as a senator. And I thank you for that. May you find abundant blessings in this chapter of your life outside the Senate. To the incoming president and vice president, I congratulate and salute both of you. It will be exciting to see what you can get done, and I'm looking forward to working alongside of you. I wish you the best. I genuinely do. To the treasurer-elect, I can't think your job would be that hard. Just don't bankrupt us. That's it. To the incoming speaker, good luck. You're going to need it, just as the Senate will need you. Need you to be present. Need you to be an expert on procedure. Need you to actually say what you mean when it comes to uniting the Senate. There is nowhere to go but up, if you ask me. And the Senate is counting on you. The price of failure is too great. Moving past matters that pertain to this new and upcoming term, as members of student government, it is our obligation to advocate and push for making USC the best and most appealing school as possible. Well, what does that mean? What this means is ensuring that USC's prestige is as high as it can be. We have much to be proud of as a Gamecock family, much to be proud of. To start, the newly named Joseph F. Rice School of Law is ranked 60th in the nation, which is a jump from 24 spots over the course of the last 2 years, which is quite remarkable if you ask me. But of course, my favorite statistic is that the Darla Moore School of Business ranks in a tie for the 55th top-ranked program for undergraduate business in the country and 18th overall for MBA part-time, which I might add is substantially higher than the Wilbur and Ann Powers School of Business at Clemson. However, we still have far to go. As a whole, our university ranks 122nd for undergraduate educational institutions, a far cry from Clemson's ranking at 86. As long as we are chasing the tail of that wretched orange and purple tiger, we must not rest. We must not, and we cannot. We must continue to urge the administration to take steps to continue to modernize and grow our school so that we may eventually call ourselves subjectively ranked the best school in this state and the best school in the region, which, as of right now, like I said, is not us, but rather that miserable institution in the upstate. But how does one go about that? To start, we must start pushing for a lower acceptance rate, plain and simple. When you consider the best public universities in this country, like the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, the University of Virginia, the University of Michigan, and yes, dare I say, the University of Georgia, what do all these institutions have in common? 4 things. The first is prestige. The second is that they all have low acceptance rates, which shows that it actually means something to attend there. Thirdly, these are all public universities that are the flagship institution of higher education for their respective state. And that brings me to my last and most important point, is that these universities all have ratios that overwhelmingly favor in-state students as opposed to importing out-of-state people, namely Yankees, by the truckload. And if you ask me, that's a healthy dose of what this university needs right now. And keep in mind, this is coming from an out-of-state person. Lower the acceptance rate, invest substantially more in our homegrown kids from this glorious state, and watch our prestige increase. I hope the new student body president will join me in pushing for such a goal, and it is my hope that in the coming years, USC will follow Clemson's lead and substantially reduce our acceptance rate. We must do that. There is no way around it. That alone would fix many issues if you think about it. The parking crisis, the housing crisis, the registration crisis that occurs every semester, all of these can be stopped and stopped for good without over-admitting students, especially those from foreign states. It is high time this comes to fruition, and I hope others will stand with me in the new term pushing for that. We've come so far from where we used to be. yet it is glaringly evident we still have far to go. Nevertheless, that does not take away from the fact that we as student leaders have accomplished many goals and taken many strides to enact positive change for the students at this university. May we continue to do so in the next term. This is a great and exceptional university. We're a great and exceptional people. And we need not forget that. We need not forget that, folks. If we do, everything we do is all for naught. God bless the state, God bless the Senate and the minds that work therein, and may the Almighty God bless and keep the University of South Carolina in the palm of his hand. For the last time as a member of the 115th Student Senate, the University of South Carolina, Mr. Speaker, I yield to questions.
The senator yields to questions. Are there any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you. Oh, Senator Felix.
I'm sorry.
Any other questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you so much. Is there any other senator wishing to bring a matter of attention to the body? Seeing none, we are now in line for a period of announcements. Is there a motion to take a 5-minute recess before we do awards so the execs can come and take a picture? Without objection, so ordered. We're now on a recess. You have not motioned to add someone as a proxy, you've not motioned for a personal privilege, please do not leave. Recess, which is a break. All right. Seeing that we are now in the announcement period, is there any senator wishing to have, or does any senator have an announcement from the floor? Seeing none, is there a motion to allow Speaker Pro Tempore Baber to assume the well while I do my piece? Without objection, so ordered. All right. Hello, everyone. And this has been a relatively longer session, so I thank you guys for being super attentive and being super engaged during those pieces of legislation. So I definitely commend you for that. Before I get into kind of an overview of our Senate, a wrap-up of all the work that we've been doing the past couple years, I do have a couple of awards to give out. Those awards, if I call your name and I recognize you, if you just come to my office tomorrow to pick up your award, especially chairs as well, if you don't mind. We had a little malfunction with the printer, so I promise your awards are coming, but in the meantime, if you could just come to my office tomorrow to pick it up, or Friday. But I first just wanted to say that part of the speaker's job is to support each and every one of you, even if we don't agree with each other. And so that's something that I really, really tried my best to do this year, because that was something that I had seen in the past couple years that maybe that wasn't the strongest skill or the strongest quality of a speaker. And so I hope that all of you have felt at least in some way supported with your projects, your initiatives, even if we may not have agreed on certain issues or certain areas. But that is one thing that I really tried to do this year. But in that support, it's not just me. Obviously, the speaker can't be everywhere at once. This year, I tried to make myself as available as possible, but if anyone knows kind of my schedule, it's usually kind of hectic during the week. So I tried to make myself most available, but truly who I leaned on were a group of individuals that either came into the position as a vice chair or that I interviewed at the very beginning of the term. But all of these individuals truly were my ears, my arms, kind of my mouth in certain situations. They truly helped me do this job, but also they helped support you guys. They were another level of support, and they were another support mechanism for each every one of you. So I would love to recognize my chairs of this year. So if you guys will please stand up so we can give you a round of applause. So if you're a chair, please stand up. And like I said, your awards is in my office, so if you will come pick it up from me tomorrow. But to you guys, I knew from the very first moment that I either interviewed you or you were chosen as a vice chairperson that you were definitely meant to lead individuals within this group. Not only are you meant to lead, but you're meant to support individuals, and that's exactly what you've done. Each and every committee in this Senate has passed tangible and meaningful legislation throughout the entire year, and that is in part to you, all of you. So I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, and I'm so proud of each and every one of you. I know that I've kind of been sending like personal messages in the GroupMes. I promise in your gift there is a handwritten letter from me, so you will definitely get more of my personal thoughts. But for now, I cannot thank you enough for all the work you've done this year, and I hope that you look back at this year with pride and you're very proud of not only you, but your committee members and the people that have supported you and the people that you were able to support. So I thank you guys from the very bottom of my heart. The next couple of awards that I truly want to give out is kind of my last Senate Excellence Awards. When I came into the position, the Senate Excellence Award section in my transition guide was kind of a little funny story. Speakers in the past haven't really been able to decide what distinguishes a Senate Excellence Award from just a normal senator, right? Is it someone that goes above and beyond their duty as an elected senator? Is it someone that passes the most legislation? Speakers in the history of this Senate, but also in the history of student government, haven't been able to really decide. That was until Speaker Trumbull. Speaker Trumbull laid out a set of criteria for that she thought would be the best way to honor someone with this award. And so earlier in the semester, you saw that I awarded former chairpersons Kuhn and Heater. And when I kind of gave their explanations, I kind of described that not only did they go above and beyond their duties, but they were that support mechanism and they were that kind of nudging voice to everyone else, right? It's when you get a Senate Excellence Award, it's not just because you've done an amazing job as a senator, it's because you've also influenced a number of other senators to write meaningful legislation, to write tangible legislation, and also you were just a friend to others when they needed it most. And for all of you, you guys have all shown that in certain aspects of the Senate. So if I could give all of you a Senate Excellence Award, I would. Unfortunately, we just don't have enough ink to do that in the printer. But again, I would like to recognize just a couple people. First one, again, the Senate Excellence Award, one of the criteria is that they can be anyone in the body. They're not just a chair. They're not just a vice chairperson. You know, they're not just a delegation chairperson. They can literally be anyone, any active senator in the body. And so when I interviewed this individual at the beginning of the year, I had worked with this individual in the Senate prior, and I knew that she someday would be destined for greatness. I didn't know exactly when back then or who or what that would look like until I got into this position. And I remember hopping on a Zoom call with her, and you know, I'm pretty sure it was on like a Thursday or a Friday, and it was kind of late in the afternoon, and it was kind of like, you know, thank you so much for spending your Friday afternoon with me or Thursday afternoon with me. I'm sorry I'm taking up a lot of time. But I think from the moment that she spoke about what she wanted to do with the Health and Safety Committee, I knew, or the Sustainability Committee in that matter, I knew that there was most definitely a place for her in the selection of chairpersons. And I knew that she needed to be one of those individuals. And I could really tell, you know, she had passion for both areas, but one of the things that she had true, genuine passion for, and something that I saw her inspiring others to really get passion for, is kind of the health and safety realm. Throughout this entire year, she has you know, helped pass a number of legislation talking about improving kind of the health and the safety environment on campus. You know, we have stuff about menstrual products. We have stuff about save-up cards. We have stuff about, save-up numbers. We have stuff about immunization holds. We have stuff about pretty much anything under the sun you can think of in terms of health and safety. She helped those senators realize their goals in those projects while also making sure that her committee was a welcoming environment. And so I think I am very proud to announce that my first Senate Excellence Award goes to our very own Chairwoman Ravi. Let's give her a round of applause. We'll take a picture at the end. But truly, Chairwoman Ravi, you have been, again, one of the most influential chairpersons in at least my student government history, and that comes from a long line of influential chairpersons. That's going back to Claire Windsor in sustainability. That's going back to Taylor Harris in academics. That's going back to Courtney McLean in equity and inclusion. It's going back to a number of individuals that have kind of helped people realize their projects, but also have helped kind of open room for senators to grow as leaders within their community and within the student body. And so for that, I cannot thank you enough. And also, one of the highlights of this individual is that she was single-handedly able to raise over 2,000 menstrual products free for students on campus. And that, I think, is just a feat in itself. And so, again, I'm super proud of you, Surestra. Your time in student government, you know, has been influential, it's been impactful, and we obviously appreciate you so much, and we cannot thank you enough for the time that you've spent to this organization. I'm sorry that you felt the way you did after the previous term, but I hope that for execs and I have made things a little bit better. And so for that, we thank you for helping us realize our dreams as well. The next Senate Excellence Award that I have to give is for a senator that filled a vacant seat. He, I think, is probably one of the most active senators when it comes to really just coming into Senate and just diving headfirst into what we were doing. This individual, I remember, came to me when he was seeking other opportunities within student government. And, you know, I always had to plug Senate, obviously. That was one of my choices that I plugged. But I also plugged cabinet committees and other ways to get involved. But I could really tell that he kind of caught his eye to the Senate realm. And I just remember from that conversation, not only me, like him leaving empowered to join this body, but also me leaving empowered to have him as a senator. I knew from the moment, I was like, I really hope the powers and responsibilities pushes him through, because he definitely, when he comes in and he joins, he's gonna dive headfirst into anything that he does. And so I would like to award my second Senate Excellence Award to Mr. Aiden Gruner. Congratulations. Not only has Senator Gruner gone above and beyond on his work on the immunization hold legislation, the Save Up card and the Carolina card legislation, and helping with other projects, he has also helped the next Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee kind of have an idea of what we could do as a student senate, but also as a student body in those areas. And so I cannot thank you enough for all the work that you've done. I also definitely cannot thank you enough for hopping in when, you know, you didn't have really that much training, because we only had 30 minutes to give you everything that you needed to know. But you've done it with grace, with dignity, and again, you're possibly one of the most driven senators I have met in my 4 years here. So we congratulate you and thank you so much for helping the four of us and myself to realize our goals. All right, I've got two more left, so here we go. I'm knocking them out. So my next Senate Excellence Award also goes to an individual who filled a vacant seat within the Senate. Honestly, same situation. I just feel like this year we had so many amazing vacant seat senators in addition to our elected senators. And so this individual filled a vacant seat, and I have never seen someone more driven within this area of academics, honestly, since Taylor Harris, who is one of my mentors as a chairwoman of the academics committee, seems like years ago now. But the way that he's been able to interact with a bunch of different stakeholders on campus, and the way he's been able to kind of advocate for a group of students that don't really get the spotlight a lot. And so with that being said, I would love to award my next Senate Excellence Award to Grant Sellers. Congratulations. Senator Sellers has not only passed tangible legislation when it comes to the transfer student experience, he's also single-handedly opened the door to student government being involved in the transfer student experience. I was able to attend with Senator Sellers and Senator Bean the Transfer Advisory Council Summit last week, and I was only able to stay for a couple hours because I was running to some other meetings, but I was amazed at the amount of university stakeholders that was there and that wanted to listen to all three of our opinions, but especially Senator Sellers and Senator Bean. And that was because of the work that they did with Bill Brown, the work they did with Claire Robinson and the UAC. And so for Senates beyond and student governments and terms beyond, we now have a place and a representative within that experience. And that would not have been without Senator Sellers' hard work. So thank you so much for your hard work this term, and thank you so much for helping the four of us realize our goals as well. And again, I wish I could give a Senate Excellence Award out to you all, but we'd be here all night. So my last Senate Excellence Award goes to, yet again, another senator who filled a vacant seat. Just goes to show you that I swear the vacant seat senators were amazing this year. But this individual, I think, was the same situation where she came in a very new environment as a freshman. And as a freshman, I know I started as a vacancy center as a freshman, and it was so intimidating. And I think I remember I was so scared to pass legislation. I think I didn't even pass one until like 2 months in because I was so terrified. But this individual came in with drive and with passion, and she came out swinging with some very tangible pieces of legislation. But not only that, she the entire time was engaged. She helped other senators out on their projects, even when maybe they weren't a priority of hers. She truly is the epitome of what a student senator should be and is. And she's also one of possibly the most passionate student leaders I have been able to interact with. And so my last and excellence award, I'm proud to announce and award it to Mia LaPenta. Congratulations. Like I said, not only has Senator LaPenta produced some very tangible pieces of legislation, but she was able to assist and give feedback in all of her committees and really assist every single senator in this body. And again, that's really where this award differentiates is, are you able to look past maybe the priorities of your own, and are you able to help other senators realize their goals and actions? And so that's exactly what Senator LaPenta has done for the entire term, and I'm so excited to see what you do in the next term, but also what all of you do in the next term. And I know I speak for Chairman Ravi when I also say this, is we're so excited to see the future of Student Senate, but also the future of student government, because you guys truly, truly were amazing senators this term. And so congratulations to Senator LaPenta and Ev and all the people who I gave Senate Excellence Awards to, but also congratulations to all of you as well. So let's give one more round of applause. All right, so now that I've kind of recognized the chairs who I could not have done this job without. I could not have done this job without each and every one of you, but I also could not have done it without the senators who are awarded with Senate Excellence Awards. But now we've kind of come to the end. It seems so weird that a year ago we started training for what would be essentially a year of service. One of the reasons that I ran was because of some of the things that I had seen through the past couple years. Was the Senate really turned into a body of disagreement, turned into a body of partisanship, and really turned into a body where senators would go home feeling like they were not appreciated, they were not valued. And so that was kind of one of my missions when I ran, was to change that. And I remember I started Senate out as a vacant seat senator as a freshman. And I remember from the very first session, seeing J.D. Jacobus do his speaker thing and bang the gavel. I knew that I was like, okay, this is something that I want to stay in. This is something that's really cool. And so I stayed in it, and then I ran again for my first full term under Speaker McDevitt. And just seeing how she was able to support all of the senators, but also help the exec realize their goals and realize their dreams, that kind of influenced me to be able, like, okay, maybe this is something that I can do. Maybe this is something that I can run for. I knew, my junior year, I felt like I really wanted to run for it, but it wasn't the time yet. I felt like I needed a little bit more experience. And so then I decided to take a staff position the next year in President Newton's staff. And then, I decided to take a gambit and run for this. Couple things that I learned along the way, take it or leave it. But what I love most about this job is not necessarily me realizing the successes of the execs or me realizing the successes of myself, but it's realizing your successes and your initiatives and your dreams. I would say like 90% of this job is just support. I would say that I am an advocate for all of you in terms of like the other executive team and in terms of to the faculty and administration. but 90% of my job was being there for each and every one of you. Now, of course, I'm not perfect. I wish I could have spent a little bit more time being more available, but I really tried to make myself as available as possible. And I hope that you felt that in this past term, and I hope that you continue that and your expectations for speakers in the future is making sure that not only are they pushing forward for the student body and they're realizing what's important to their constituents, but they're also realizing what's important to each and every one of you. And that's what makes the speakership unique compared to the other executive positions. And so I'm super proud to say that I have felt like we have laid an amazing foundation. The 115 Student Senate has really put out over 80 pieces of legislation that are tangible, that directly affect the student population, and that is all of your hard work. The topics included in the legislation, have been strengthening our student game day experience, strengthening our organizational structure, improved resources surrounding transportation and parking. We implemented more sustainable options for student government, also student organizations that we fund through the student organizational or undergraduate fund, but also for campus in general. And we've been able to overall pass the largest financial reform package in student government history. And that was a complete rewrite of the financial codes of Chapter 3. And in that rewrite, we've made the funding process for student orgs more equitable, we've made it more clear, and we've made it more fair for every single student org that comes to student government asking for support. We also were able to provide one of the largest research reports in student government history. We were able, in that research report, to talk about the impacts and to talk about advocacy points around an increase in the campus activity fee. One that, in collaboration with the Student Body President's Office and VP Rex Tolliver, that we're able to hopefully and that we're able to realize within the next month and hopefully within the next couple years. And that's all from you. We're also able to talk about what a new student union looks like. We were able to talk about what that would do for the student population, and we were able to present and show the most fair and equitable way for students to pay for what a new student union would be. All of these things I could not have done without you. Again, these are your accomplishments just as much as they are mine. And so I hope that you look back on this 115th Student Senate with pride. I also hope that you look back on pride because this year, compared to the previous years, we have been truly connected to our constituents. We were able to conduct student government's largest constituent surveying based event in our history and in student government's 115-year history. We were able to give out over 1,000 chicken minis free of charge to students. And in return, all we asked was for at least one concern that they had about the university. And so we were able to document and to theme over 800 student concerns about the student experience and about the university as a whole. That data went on to influence legislation. That data went on to influence the work of the Financial Ad Hoc Committee. That data is going to go on to influence the next set of executive officers and their priorities and executive officers for years to come. And that, again, not only is part to you guys and not only part to my staff, but it's a part of the passion that you guys showed for really wanting to serve the students. That's what this is about. And that is what you did in the 115th Student Senate. Topics included in this report, we saw concerns with advising, late postment of grades, safety and facility concerns on campus, a need for a new student union, and most importantly, a need and a want for a completely revitalized student experience. And that data and that need and concern, that's exactly what the Student Ad Hoc Committee did with their presentation, and that's exactly what we are advocating for in the new student union, also the increase in the campus activity fee, but also that's what you guys did in the legislation following. So this year we've had a lot of things to be proud of, from legislation to some of student government's largest research reports to some of student government's largest constituency serving events. 115 students in it. Not only will be remembered for your passion and your work, but they'll be remembered for breaking a number of glass ceilings. And so in that, I obviously could not have done it without each and every one of you, but also I could not have done it without my staff itself, right? So I just wanted to thank my staff. If they could please stand up, and let's give them a round of applause. My staff has truly been the backbone of my experience here, from being a part of my campaign, to interviewing with me and Courtney at the beginning of the term, to joining when we needed a spot filled. I could not thank them enough. And I hope that you have felt they've supported you in your legislation and your projects and your initiatives just as much as they supported me. I do want to give another thank you to my chief of staff, and I'm gonna try not to cry because we're gonna do it. We made it through, she made it through, I can make it through. So it's very weird to me, it's when everything is weird right now, but it's very weird that almost a year and a half ago, to a little bit more than that, I remember sitting at work. For those of you who don't know, we both work at the Legislative Council Agency at the State House. And I remember sitting in the Dennis building, and I, had this crazy idea in the back of my head that I wanted to run for Speaker of the Student Senate. But I had no idea where to start. I had no idea what to do. And so I remember, one day Courtney walking in the office and me just throwing the most random question out there. I was like, would you possibly want to be my chief of staff and to be my campaign manager? And normally people would be like, whoa, that just seems completely out of the random. But it was not. I knew Courtney in high school. We were both in the same program together. I had seen her compete at the We the People state competition. And I also had seen her love and passion for the student body at our high school as well. And I knew that passion would translate to here so well. So I knew that from the moment I kind of, had seen all of those things, I knew that I wanted her a part of this journey. And so what a wild ride it's been, year and a half later. And I could not thank you enough for the campaign manager side of things, to, keeping me level-headed throughout everything, but also for everything that you've done for this body. And it's shown because, the student body has elected you as their next vice president. And so I say that to say, I could not have done it without each and every one of you, but especially my chief of staff. So I thank you so much. And if we give her a round of applause, that'd be great. And of course, there's an extended version in your handwritten letter, so just look out for that. But I also could not thank, I would not be here without my Speaker Pro Tempore, Ava Baber, as well. She has supported me throughout this entire semester, but not only that, she was able to bridge the gap in a rocky transition between Speaker Pro Tempores. And she was able to really kind of unify the body in kind of a divisive time. And so I cannot thank you enough for that. And so we give another round of applause to Speaker Pro Tempore Baber as well. But, again, the thank yous are just going to keep them coming. Because obviously I could not have done it without my staff, Speaker Pro Tempore, all of you. But I also could not have done it without my fellow execs. We came in with very similar goals, which if you know anything about student government elections, that's super rare. And from the time that we were coming from, that was probably the rarest thing you would have ever have seen compared to the previous couple of terms. And I knew when he came in, actually I knew the night that we all got elected, that we would work so well together and that we would truly make the student experience better than we found it. And so I'm happy to say that not only has Senate helped out with that, but I could not have made the student experience better than we found it without the four of you. And so I just wanted to give thanks to Abriana, Hannah, and obviously Emmy as well. All of you guys have become some of my best friends. We spent a lot of time together, so I don't know what I'm going to do after next Wednesday. Obviously, we're still going to spend time together in terms of friends, but like, I don't know what I'm going to do, like not coming into the LSC and seeing all of your faces and kind of talking with you. So I really, really would like to thank all of you. I would like to give a special shout out. I, kind of did it, and I kind of hijacked her state of the student body to give her big thanks because I felt like she's too humble to give thanks to herself, obviously. So I'm here doing it again. I cannot give the world of thanks to President Thompson. She single-handedly, I think we can all agree, has become one of the most influential student body presidents in our history. And I've seen a lot of student body presidents come and go. Emmy has seen a lot of student body presidents come and go. Some of our seniors in this room, you've seen a lot of student body presidents come and go. And so one of the things that makes the student body president an influential one is, again, one that not only achieves the goals that she sets for herself or himself, but also helps others achieve their goals and passions and initiatives. And so I literally could not have done this year without President Thompson and without all the support she's given me, because that has helped me give support to you guys. And that has helped me advise you guys. And so I could not think of a better leader for our organization this year, but I also could not think of a better friend. So thank you so much, Emmy Thompson. Give a round of applause. And so with that, I give our Senate in review. The 115th has broken numerous barriers. We'll go on to serve as a foundation for a positive and a welcoming environment, and has set the stage for the next Senate and the next Speaker-elect. And so, again, as I said for the most 1,000th time, I cannot thank each and every one of you for your work this year. It's been an honor being able to see each of you grow as leaders in this role, and it's been an honor serving as your speaker. Wow, voice crack, as your speaker. So, with that, I am very proud to say and to give the gavel to the next Speaker-elect. Don't worry, I'm getting there. To the next Speaker-elect, Hamilton. Chairwoman Hamilton, I am beyond proud of you. The stuff that you've been able to do as chairwoman this year has been truly amazing. You really stepped up to the plate when we had the last chairman become an amazing Constitutional Council justice. You really led the committee through a bunch of really complicated codes jargon and codes bill. And so I cannot think of anyone more perfect to take over this role, which is, just warning you, very codes-based, just as a fair warning. But you are beyond prepared for it. And I'll give you a piece of advice that Speaker McDevitt gave me when I decided to run. She said that the best speakers are ones that do not seek the well. The best speakers are not the ones who seek a microphone every chance they get. The best speakers are not the ones who seek to take credit for big initiatives, big advocacy points. The best speakers are the ones who love to watch other students grow in their leadership abilities. And so you have shown that as your role as a chairwoman, and I can only imagine you're going to show that as the next Speaker of the Student Senate. So I'm very proud to pass the gavel, and we're gonna take a picture at the end, just so we can kind of get people moving, okay? But I'm very proud to pass the gavel to you, just as the previous speakers have passed the gavel to everyone else. So you've joined a really big family and a crazy family. You've joined a family of speakers that, you know, put them together in a room, none of them agree with each other usually. But that's what makes this role specifically one of the best roles, in my opinion. Because the speaker is able to surround himself or herself with people that they may not disagree with and ultimately grow as a leader. So with that, I am proud to have served as your Speaker of the Student Senate, and I cannot thank you enough for all the work you've done, but I also have grown as a leader because of you. So with that, I will let Speaker Pro Tempore Baber take it away with, is there a motion for Speaker Eubanks to retake the well so we can close her out?
Is there a motion for Speaker Eubanks to resume the well? Is there a second? Without objection, so ordered.
All right. Oh, and I forgot to say I yielded to the floor. Sorry. Anyways, is there any other announcements from the floor? Seeing none. With no further announcements, and please don't stand up, just let the moment sink in for a second. Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Without objection, the 115 Student Senate will now stand adjourned, sine die. Congratulations. All right, that's all she wrote, guys. Like I said, if you receive